You ever click on a video and right away you just know this story's about to pull you in? Yeah, that's exactly what this one's gonna do. It all started one quiet evening in my little house down in Alabama. The sky was gray, the air felt heavy, and the clock on the wall was ticking louder than usual. I was sitting in my old armchair, reading the local paper and sipping chamomile tea. Everything felt calm. Too calm. That kind of quiet that don't feel peaceful anymore. It feels lonely. Then out of nowhere, bang, bang, bang. The sound made me jump so hard my teacup hit the floor and shattered into 100 pieces. "Open the door!" The voice was loud, cracked, desperate. I froze. It was her, my daughter-in-law. I didn't move, didn't breathe. She kept pounding on the door, harder this time. "I know you're in there. Open up." My hand started trembling. Something about her tone didn't sound like anger. It sounded like pain mixed with rage. And then I heard it. Boot steps. Heavy ones. Right outside my porch. I peeked through the curtain and my stomach dropped. It was my son. My own boy. Standing there, and in his hand, a crowbar. For a second, my mind went blank. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Why would he bring that here? Why now? I stepped back slowly, heart racing so loud it drowned out everything else. My mouth went dry, and all I could whisper was, "What did I do?" They kept shouting my name, banging harder and harder. And right then, something hit me. This wasn't just about a door. It wasn't about locks or keys. It was about everything that had gone wrong between us. The silence, the hurt, the years we all tried to ignore. People always say you never really know what's coming until it's standing right on your front porch. And that night, it was my own family. Heartbreak. If you're still here listening, don't go anywhere. You need to hear what happened before that night, before the yelling, before the heartbreak, before the crowbar. Back when everything still seemed perfect, but deep down, the cracks had already started to show. P.S. Back then, life felt simple. Mornings started with the smell of fresh coffee, the sound of birds on the porch rail, and sunlight sneaking through my old kitchen curtains. I'd hum along to the radio while making breakfast, same old station, same old songs. And on Sundays, my son would always drop by. He'd bring donuts, fix something that didn't even need fixing, and say, "Mom, you gotta stop living like it's 1985. And I'd laugh every time. He was my pride, my heart, my reason to smile. Then one day, he showed up with someone new, a young woman with soft brown hair and bright green eyes. She looked shy, but had that sweet southern charm right from the first hello. He said, "Mom, this is Claire." And just like that, she was part of the family. She helped me wash dishes, asked for my pie recipe, and smiled like she truly meant it. I remember thinking, my boy's found himself a good one. And for a while, everything felt perfect. They'd come over on weekends, we'd sit on the porch, sip lemonade, and talk about silly things, like which state had the best barbecue. I still say Texas, but they were Alabama loyal. We'd laugh, tease, and talk until the fireflies came out. But little by little, something changed. The visits got shorter. The laughter got thinner, and I started feeling that quiet again, the one that sneaks up when love starts drifting. It started small, a call he didn't answer, a weekend they couldn't make, excuses that sounded rehearsed. I told myself, they're just busy. That's marriage. But deep down, it hurt. The boy who used to call me just to say goodnight now barely texted once a week. Then one day, Claire dropped by alone. No smile, no pie dish, no warmth.
She sat on the edge of the couch and said, "Maybe you should give Daniel some space." I didn't understand. "Space from what?" I asked. She just sighed and looked at the floor. "You're his mom, but he's got a family now." The words hit me like a slap. I didn't say much after that, just nodded, smiled polite, and watched her leave. That night, I sat in the same old armchair, staring at the photo of us on his graduation day. His arm around me, that big, goofy grin on his face. I kept whispering, "Where did that boy go?" Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and by the time my birthday came around, I'd already stopped expecting much.
Time went on, but the silence stayed. Every day felt heavier, like the air in the house didn't move anymore. I'd wake up, check my phone, scroll through old pictures, and tell myself, don't text him first, let him come to you. But he never did. One afternoon, I was trimming the rose bushes when a car pulled up. For a second, my heart jumped. Maybe he'd finally come. But when the door opened, it was her. No smile, no warmth, just that look that said, "We need to talk." She stood by the gate, arms crossed, said she didn't have long, said I'd been making things harder. I blinked. Harder? I haven't even seen y'all in months. She gave a little fake laugh, that cold ha-ha-ha that isn't funny at all. Then she said, "He feels guilty every time you call. You make him feel like he's failing you." That one stung, because all I ever wanted was to hear his voice. I didn't shout, didn't cry, just nodded. But after she drove off, my hands were shaking so bad I dropped the clippers. That night, I finally called him. Took 3 tries before he picked up. His voice sounded tired. "Mom, please, can we not do this tonight?" Do what? I wasn't fighting. I was just asking when I'd see him next. But he sighed, long and deep, the kind that says he's already halfway gone. "I'm just trying to build my own life now," he said. And that line tore through me like glass. I wanted to yell, "You are my life." But instead, I just whispered, "Don't forget where you came from." Then the call ended. No love you, no good night. Just that hollow click, the kind that echoes longer than it should. After that, I tried to keep busy. Fixed old furniture, baked, cleaned, pretended I was fine. But the truth, the house started feeling too big for one heart. Weeks passed before I saw them again, this time at the grocery store. He looked surprised. She didn't. He hugged me half-hearted, then said, "We've been meaning to call." I smiled and said, "Sure you have." Tried to keep it light, but my voice cracked halfway through. She looked away, pretending to check her phone. I could see the tension between them. Something wasn't right. When I reached for his arm and said, "You okay, sweetheart?" she pulled him a little closer to her side. That tiny move said everything words didn't. Later that night, I sat by the window. No TV, no noise, just the wind in my thoughts. And for the first time, I wondered if love could fade, not because people stopped caring, but because they stopped trying. I told myself maybe they just need time. But deep down, I knew time was already taking them away. It was a Saturday evening, one of those quiet ones where the world feels paused. I just finished making tea when I heard it. Bang, bang, bang. Someone was pounding on my front door. My heart jumped. The sound was sharp, desperate, like something was wrong. For a second, I froze. Then I heard it. Her voice. She was yelling my name.
Not softly, not politely. She was screaming. "Open the door! I know you're in there!" My hand shook as I set the cup down. I wasn't sure whether to open it or call someone. Then came another bang, louder this time. I opened the door, slowly, and there she was, hair messy, eyes wide, anger written all over her face. "Why are you doing this to us?" she shouted. I blinked, confused. "What are you talking about?" She pointed at me like I'd just done something terrible. "You keep calling him, guilt-tripping him, trying to make him leave me. You just can't stand that he's happy, can you?" Her words hit like a slap. I took a deep breath and said quietly, "Sweetheart, that's not true. I just miss my son." But she didn't stop. She kept yelling, pacing back and forth on the porch, every word louder than the last. And then, out of nowhere, I heard the sound of a car screeching to a stop. He jumped out, ran toward us, face red, breathing heavy. "Mom, what's going on here?" he shouted. Before I could speak, she said, "She's lying. She's trying to ruin everything." He looked between us, me, then her, eyes full of confusion, and for a moment nobody said a word. Then he sighed, rubbed his forehead, and, I'll never forget this, he grabbed the metal bar from the side of the porch. Not to use it, not to hurt anyone, just holding it, like someone ready to defend what's theirs. My chest tightened. I whispered, "Put that down, please." He hesitated, looked at me, and in that moment, I saw everything written in his eyes. Love, guilt, anger, fear, all mixed together. I said softly, "Sweetheart, I'm not your enemy." The air was heavy. Even the wind stopped moving. Then she stepped forward, took his arm, and said, "Let's just go. She'll never understand." They turned around and walked toward the car. I stood there on the porch, barefoot, shaking, watching the taillights disappear down the road. And for the first time in my life, I felt like a stranger in my own story. That night I sat by the door, the same one they'd been pounding on hours ago, and I whispered to the empty air, "I didn't mean to lose you." The porch light flickered, and in the quiet, all I could hear was the echo of my heartbeat. After they drove off that night, the silence felt louder than the shouting. Even the clock on the wall seemed afraid to tick. I sat there for a while, staring at the empty driveway, waiting for headlights that never came back. The tea on the table had gone cold. I picked it up, took one sip, and smiled a little to myself. Funny how life can change between two heartbeats. One moment you're a mother, the next, just a memory someone's trying to outgrow. Days turned into weeks. The porch that used to echo with laughter now carried only the wind. I'd still set 2 cups out sometimes, one for me, one for him, just in case he showed up. Neighbors would ask, "You heard from your boy?" I'd say, "He's busy, you know how life gets," and laugh, "Ha ha ha." But inside, that laugh felt hollow. One Sunday, I walked to the church by myself, sat in the last pew, looked up at the stained glass, and whispered, "If he ever needs me, please let him find his way back." That was the first time I stopped blaming myself, because love isn't about holding someone tight. It's about letting them go, trusting that the heart remembers its way home. Months later, I was out in the yard, sun shining through the trees, when I heard a familiar voice behind me. "Mom?" I turned around slowly, and there he was, standing by the gate, eyes tired but soft. He looked older somehow, like life had finally taught him what words never could. No anger, no explanations, just a quiet, honest, "Can we start over?" I didn't need to think twice. I just smiled through the tears and said, "Baby, the door was never locked." He hugged me, and for a second, everything felt the way it used to, like time had given us one more chance. Maybe love doesn't disappear after all. Maybe it just takes the long road home.
That night changed everything. My son put down the crowbar and broke down in tears. My daughter-in-law stood there, shaking, whispering, "I'm sorry." It wasn't the apology that fixed things. It was the silence after. Sometimes family doesn't need perfect words, just a moment where everyone realizes how close they came to losing each other. I'll never forget that night in Alabama, not because it broke me, but because it finally helped me heal. If this story touched your heart, please hit subscribe and join our community of real stories that remind us we're never alone.